All right, Fist Talk, what's going on? Obviously, the news broke. MLF fines and such. Of course, we knew that. And here's the issue I want to point out and I want to raise. And shout out to all those that have been talking about these issues since that Cayuga event in New York regarding MLF Bass Pro Tour, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. To all those guys who have podcasts who've been calling this out and bringing this. Today, you will actually find, I have a question of really who is behind Major League Fishing fans page. Okay? The fan page says it's independent, but there are officials and people from within MLF that are in the group. But people are reporting to me, and this has happened to me as well, where posts about the Spencer Sheffield fine and insight to the polygraphs and insight to the MLF investigation were removed. Were removed from the fan page. People's opinions about the fine and about the fact that anglers were not banned or removed from the Bass Pro Tour over obvious cheating, obviously sketchy stuff that should be perceived as cheating, violating the rules, and only Spencer Sheffield, the rookie, is the only one held accountable. And so fans are upset. It's a fan page. Fans are upset about that, right? And yet comments are being removed, posts are being removed. There's nothing in the rules of that group. Look, that fan group can allow people. They could throw me out tonight. That's fine. Okay. They can remove that. They can do whatever they want. It's a group. Okay. But that's not the point. The point is that group is clearly controlled, in my opinion, by an interest that serves Major League Fishing. It's not an independent, unaffiliated group like they claim. If they're removing all posts, we're waiting for what MLF says. Okay, we're just supposed to accept what MLF says. What if we disagree with MLF? We know that a lot of the anglers from ICAST are upset. They can't speak because they don't have a platform. They know what will happen to them if they do. So if their fans speak on their behalf, and it's a fans page. So I posted today exactly what came out of ICAST, and people reporting, and different anglers that I'd spoken to, and different sponsors that I'd spoken to, and different all these things that I had gotten, and the admin of the MLF fan page was like, well, we got a bunch of messages and, it's not accurate. Well, it ended up being 100% accurate. That he was being fined. Okay? He did have his earnings from St. Clair withheld. Okay? These are facts. These are all facts that actually Spencer Sheffield communicated to people himself. That he was going to get an attorney. That he was going to fight. Right? That MLF was not going to allow him to fish until he paid the entire amount to the tune of $45,000 minus his St. Clair earnings, which were about $7,000 or so. So the balance was roughly $37,000. But yet, again, people who have podcasts, people who are on YouTube, people who have credible sources don't matter. Didn't matter because MLF fan page wants to toe the MLF line. They're part of the problem, right? They want to be an outlet to disseminate the MLF narrative, not the fans' perspective, how the fans feel about it. They're asking us to unsee what we saw with our own eyes on live stream, on MLF Live. They're asking us to unhear what we heard out of anglers' mouths on MLF Live. They're asking us to unhear what JT and people said during the event about sight fishing, about bed fishing. Okay? They're asking us to unhear and unsee things that we saw and heard with our own eyes and ears. We don't get it. The fans don't get it. They held the rookie accountable and made an example of the rookie on the Bass Pro Tour, right? So they could say He was a rookie. He didn't really understand the rules. But here's the thing, mates. Look at the official statement from the MLF. They've changed the rule. This is what happens all the time. It's like, well, you violated the rule, so the rule was shit, right? Like, we violated the rule, but now you're changing the rule, right? I'm just saying, that's sketch. Because if the rule wasn't clear, if the rule wasn't really definitive, if there was too much gray in the rule, then that's on MLF. And that's on anyone who runs any kind of event series, anything. If your rules are unclear and ambiguous, you can't really hold people accountable. Right? You can't really hold people accountable. And really, the argument that's being made in the community right now, and you'll hear this on some other pages, is like, well, if so-and-so was the tournament director, or this was this tournament director, and had it been this tournament director, it never would have happened. Well, why is it the tournament director that matters? Other than he gets to make a decision, but shouldn't the rules matter? Why do we have captains' meetings in a lot of communities for fishing events? Could be kayak, could be boater. Why do we bother to have captains' meetings then if the rules don't really matter, right? And like this Facebook fan page in their own rules doesn't say that we can't report on what we're learning and hearing and what's coming out of ICAST and what an angler said. And they want to censor what people's opinion and what they're reporting on. Like, it's already on the internet. It's already out there in groups. It's already on YouTube. It's already out there. But yet, we're going to wait. Fans, we got to wait for MLF's official statement. Seriously, you don't think MLF, people at MLF, anglers in MLF that go all the way down aren't leaking stuff? You don't think the anglers leaked that there was a meeting at MLF after the Cayuga event? You don't think anglers leaked the 14 or so anglers that were polygraphed? You don't think anglers are talking to their fans and in their communities? They're not doing it on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. They're doing it, okay? I was at a Tackle Warehouse Invitational event the week after Cayuga. Spencer Sheffield was there. Matt Becker was there. 2 anglers that were polygraphed regarding their actions at Cayuga. You don't think people were talking? I sat right down in the middle of people talking about this very thing. What happened on the water during the Potomac River Tackle Warehouse Invitational. Okay? Anglers are already talking about it, but as fans, we're not allowed to talk about it on the Major League Fishing fans page. We're not allowed to talk about it. All those posts are removed. Right? So unless it doesn't come from the angler's mouth or MLF, you're not allowed to post on that fan page about anything. I'm just saying, somebody create a new page. Somebody create a new MLF fan page, please. That's for fans. It's not for MLF. It's for fans to have a place to come, to articulate, to vocalize, to have an opinion. It's not to bash people. It's not to do any of that stuff. It's to talk about, people talk. People like to hear what the anglers feel about things without actually coming out of the angler's mouth, because they know that the anglers cannot do that. They know that the anglers have multi-deals, some of them hundreds of thousands of deals with sponsors where they cannot come public with how they really feel, which is a shame, which is why podcasts like mine and YouTube channels like mine and other people exist. That's the only reason why they exist. If anglers were allowed to come out and say everything and anything and be honest 100% without any retribution, without any loss of income or sponsors or any of that, podcasts like mine and others wouldn't be unnecessary. But unfortunately, we never talk about what really needs to be talked about. We don't. It gets pushed under the rug, swept under the rug, in the hopes that the next event will happen and we'll all forget about it and it won't be any big deal and they'll just move on. We've seen it. Sprague last year. We've seen it repeatedly. Boyd Duckett and his crappie fishing on a lake during off-limits periods. Explained away. Fine. It's like, a lot of them are kind of inconsequential, but they're still violations. And so, I mean, some of them are done with a boating penalty, a launch penalty. Okay, but you have to be transparent about it, right? Completely transparent about it. And so, it's like, boom, we called it out. We knew a week and a half to 2 weeks ago that it was Sheffield's head who was on the chopping block. That was leaked out by MLF, by people affiliated with MLF. It's the only way we would know that that was even remotely coming down the pipe. And ICAST happened to fall right in the middle of it, and everybody at ICAST on the floor knew what was going on and knew what was coming today. Okay? So we're not supposed to report on that. We're not supposed to talk about that as fans. We're not supposed to have an opinion on that. We have to wait for MLF to tell us what to think, is what that fan page is really saying. Both of those admins removing people's posts, mine included. All I did was report on the reporting from ICAST. That was it. Based on Spencer Sheffield's interviews, based on other anglers' interviews with people, other podcasters, other content creators, right? Messages back and forth, okay? Confirm, deny. Did you in fact fail the polygraph? Yes. Did you in fact pass the polygraph? Yes. Like whatever, how many people were, all that stuff. But that's not an appropriate thing on the fan page. And I get that. It's their page. They can do whatever they want. But that doesn't mean that it's an unaffiliated fan page. So if you're in that group, understand that things are being filtered. And they can deny it all they want, but there's a record. They removed they even removed strategic alliance announcements as spam. Like, this is how ridiculous it is. The Bubba partnership, strategic partnership with Bubba for the scales, for the smart scale with MLF got removed. The GSM Outdoors acquiring Big Bite Baits, a major news story, right? Many anglers are sponsored by Big Bite Baits and other GSM Outdoors companies, right? That got removed from the fan page. Like, what? Like, it's just amazing to me. And you know what? But they can do whatever they want. I'm going to shed light on it on the podcast. Morning coffee and swim baits. People can decide whether or not they want to stay in that group, or maybe someone smarter than me will go out and form a new MLF fan group. Okay, that's actually for the fans. It's actually not going to censor, delete, and filter people's comments that are factual comments. Okay, about what MLF is doing because they don't like the way it portrays MLF. That's not an independent, unaffiliated page if you're doing that. Okay, and that's the reality of that situation. So Spencer Sheffield has been fined. Okay, Spencer Sheffield is the only angler from the Cayuga event thus far. I'm sure we'll see what the fallout's going to be, but technically he cannot fish on another Bass Pro Tour event, and I think any MLF event until he has paid his fines. Okay, and so that is factual. And that is what was reported this morning that was removed. Okay? Waiting for MLF's official statement to come out. Okay? That's all I'm saying. It's like, you can't do that to fans. Like, fans are fans. Like, I just got inundated today on my phone. I thought it was so funny relative to MLF was, the Takahiro Mori, he's also in the news, by the way, because he actually said on live camera that he was going to go after a fish that he'd already caught, okay? Now, I don't know. That wasn't a polygraph question, so he didn't have to answer that, all right? But what I was talking about is we got all these rumors about the Angels trading away best player in baseball to the Dodgers. It's rumors, yet it's everywhere. The Angels haven't confirmed that. Major League Baseball hasn't confirmed that in an official statement. So are fans not supposed to talk about it? Fans not supposed to, get all heated about it? What? Right? No, we just have to wait. We have to wait, until Major League Baseball makes an announcement. Is that really... Does bass fishing really want to go down that? We're not going to be like other sports, like football and baseball and all the other sports. We're fans. We're going to make sure that we control the narrative here. Then what most people already know at ICAST. Okay? After talking to anglers. Wildfire spreading across the Orlando Convention Center floor. Right? Everybody already knew. And now we're 3 days later, 4 days later, we finally get the official statement. So everyone's, and most of the so-called, well, we don't want to be speculative. Speculations were true because it all came out of ICAST. So that's where the anglers are. That's where the sponsors are. That's where the MLF officials are. That's where everybody is last week, right? So it's just something that people need to understand. Like, look, just be transparent. MLF, be transparent. Major League fans page, be transparent about who you are, right, to people, right? You are an affiliated fans page. You are. And you have to be, if you're deleting posts and comments for people who simply disagree with MLF's decision regarding Spencer Sheffield, rightly or wrongly, okay? Whether you support the decision or don't, whether you think he should have been banned for life or you don't, whatever that is, you should be removing people from the group and banning people. Or, again, it seems to be like the knee-jerk reaction is someone says something I don't like, so I'm going to block or ban them. Really? I mean, you can do that. You're just a clown. You can do that. People disagree with me all the time. I don't delete their comment. I don't block them from my YouTube channel. Okay? Because I may not be right. I may be wrong. Okay? And the more information you get from more people, the more apt you are to be able to make a reasonable judgment for yourself as a viewer of any channel, right? So everybody's opinion matters. It's a fan page, right? So hey man, educate people. That's something that people have really failed the community on recently is, okay, how did you come to that decision? Why didn't the other three guys, what's the prior history of people being fined? Why is it just Spencer? Okay, but no one else's rose to the level of violating a rule? Well, they just didn't really understand the rule's intent, really. So that's it's now up to the angler to decide what a rule means, not the TD or MLF. And there's your problem, mates. Stop kicking it down the road to the next event. I mean, MLF is already making changes to rules because of the Cayuga event. That's what they always do. It's you're changing your rule as an admission that your rule sucked. And that there was no clarity to your rule. Just admit it. Just admit it. That our rule is an inferior rule. It should have never been worded the way it was. We didn't catch it. We should have caught it. We should have understood that we're fishing at a fishery when the fishery is basically closed to the public during spawning season, and we're fishing there, and we knew going into the event that the smallmouth bass were going to be on the beds at Cayuga. Maybe we should take a look at our rules. Well, they didn't do that. Okay? They didn't do that. You should just say it. We let the community down. We made a mistake. Okay? This is what we're going to do. Fine. You fine I'm not saying fine people $45,000 for, sight fishing, necessarily, or, the talk of Becker, fishing in a mud line, so he couldn't see the fish, but it was the same fish, and his GPS, I don't know, does GPS log that site? So he'd been there already a few times that day or in the tournament to know there was a bed there. I don't know. Okay. But there are all these things. So just, you could have taken that $45,000 fine to Spencer Sheffield and divided it up between the five anglers that most people feel like violated a rule. Okay. So $9,000 for all five. Admit and revise the rule and move on, mates. And move on, right? It's not what we get. We get a rookie held accountable because he's a rookie. So it's easily to explain away. Rookie didn't understand the rules, didn't really know what he was doing, right? But that's not how Spencer seems to portray it. I mean, I'll give him credit. I may become a fan, to be honest, and people be like, oh, you're supporting a cheater. That's not why I would become a fan. I'll become a fan for him if he challenges this. Because although I do think he was in the wrong, I don't think he was the only one in the wrong. And I think he's being held to a higher standard as a rookie than some veterans on the Bass Pro Tour that have been there and should know better and yet still decided to do it. Why? Because other people were doing it. And then you got veteran anglers who know better and actually followed the rules and knew what was going on, but stayed ethical. Threw fish back. Didn't even weigh fish that they thought they even remotely may have caught inappropriately. And we know who those anglers are. They're ethical. They're professional. And just because you're on the Bass Pro Tour, just because you're on the Bass Elite Tour, in my opinion, doesn't mean you are a professional. Yes, you're paid to fish. But being a professional, that's some old school shit. That's Gary Klein. That's Rick Clunn. That's Woo Daves. That's Kevin Van Dam. That's people who walk the walk. They are professional. Not just getting a paycheck for fishing. Breaking rules. Being unethical. Doing whatever they want to do. Okay? Until they get caught. Right? Because why? Because the fine's not going to be... I got a shot at winning $100,000. I got a shot at going to the Bassmaster Classic. I got a shot at going heavy hitters. I got a shot at doing this with a big-ass payday. But if I do get caught sketching the rules, I'm only going to get a slap on the wrist. That's the world we're living in, mates. That's the world we're living in. That's the example being set by Cayuga. We slapped a rookie on the wrist, hoping it's going to send a message to everybody. And the message, they didn't get the memo. Guys are just like, whoo, keeping my Cayuga money. Whoo, didn't get any of my St. Clair money taken from me. Whoo, right? That's the message that got sent. It just is, in my opinion. I'm a fan of MLF. I love what they do. But I've already had a half a dozen or so people that fish on the BFL for MLF be like, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Like, that's the problem you run into. When you aren't transparent and you don't equally apply the rules to everybody, eventually people look at how hard it's going to take to go to the Toyota Series, to go to Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, to get to the BBT, and then you know what? A lot of times people shake their heads and are like, that could be me. That could happen to me. And not everybody can afford to cut a check for $45,000, right? Not everybody can afford that kind of fine, right? Not everybody has the sponsors that are going to stand by an angler and cut that check for him so he can still fish and rep their products, right? I'm just saying, this may actually create more problems for MLF than the actual rules violations on the water. All right, mates, tune in morning coffee and swim baits podcast. JL Scott Fishing and Eats on YouTube. Check out the podcast coming up tomorrow, Tuesday morning, and we will talk about this, and we will talk about a lot of other stuff going down post ICAST in the fishing community. All right, mates, have a great night.